I think we are alive. Whoa! I think so. I think so. I think so. We should be good, y'all. We should be good. So, I'll just get it started for all the people that are watching this after the fact, because always when the stream starts, a couple of people need to come on in. It takes a little second to do that. Now today, let me just say, long story short, has been a very interesting day. And I've told you already, it's like full of emotion. The last couple of days, it's been a freaking it gets happy depression. I still have this cushion with me, by the way, if you watch that video. I'm still in a state of, I don't know, like, it's been really, really interesting. Oh, you guys are saying volume up? I don't know about that, guys. I don't know. I don't know if I should be doing those jokes again. Yeah. You know, I think, just to be real, can you hear me good, or, yeah? Let's see what the majority says. Anyway, if you're in this chat right now, within 1 minute, I always want to make sure we get to, from now on forward, we got to get those likes up immediately. If you're joining in, make sure you always immediately press that button. And that's all I can say about that. All right, you guys are saying it sounds good. I'm amazing. Oh, it's not I'm amazing. I want to say amazing. Let's then dive right into everything I've been finding out over the past couple of hours. So to base things first, right? We've been talking over the past 24 hours that it feels like a lot of this is just what you call simple manipulation. James said this, and he's not necessarily the authority, but I do agree partially with his sentiments. What's happening right now? Market makers have dumped Bitcoin. It creates panic among long leverage traders and just general retail/weak hands. Right now, they're buying your alts as some of you are selling because you see Bitcoin's price decline, right? As it went back to 115. This is the transition between Bitcoin season and altcoin season. Bitcoin dominance is dropping despite Bitcoin's decline in price. Usually, alts will follow and dump harder, but now they haven't. And what he's referring to, that is, if we take a look at the short-term Bitcoin dominance, what is quite peculiar is that it's mostly going down. Even though Bitcoin is still not able to breach the heights, right? Bitcoin basically going sideways and kind of down. Usually this is where alts just fall to the freaking floor, but they haven't. Now, I can't say that Bitcoin's dominance is really mostly continued down. We've seen a little uptick, which could be the result of Bitcoin stopping the gains and thus doing slightly better. But anyway, this, you'd normally expect if Bitcoin went from 122 all the way back to 115,000, with the panic that it caused, that this would have just gone up all the way back, just gone crazy. Because for the most part, it seems like altcoins, a lot of them have slashed back their gains, right? If you were to believe Twitter, you'd think so. But then you start looking at it, XRP is down like 15% from the high, now down 8% over the week. But really, it's actually, that's basically it. Like, some coins are down like 5% this week or so. But generally speaking, for fun, let's take a look. Bitcoin, nothing, right? Minus 1% today. Ethereum, minus 0.27% today. XRP, minus 1.7% today. BNB, plus 0.09. Solana, minus 0.83. Like, if you just start scrolling through, Dogecoin, minus not even 1%. Tron, not even plus minus 1. Cardano, not even plus minus 1. Only Hyperliquid being up 2%, and Sui up 5. We go back. Stellar, not down even 1%. Chainlink, not up or down even 1%. And there's a few other coins like HBAR and Bitcoin Cash here, which are moving slightly better. But if you just scroll through, today is a day with basically nothing happening. But to counter that, it's actually quite a positive day. Why? Because if Bitcoin goes down a little bit and alts are able to sustain that, matter of fact, Ethereum is even up, those are clear signs that this indeed may be where the season shifts around. This may literally be so, where the altcoin season is upon us. And I'm excited for it. A lot of y'all might not understand it yet, but it's, if you've been here for a while, you realize sometimes what is probably going on. And even though you're not 100% sure. Okay, you're saying my volume is max, you still seem a little bit low. I'll put like this should, I think, be okay. Yeah. The thing is, I put safe on my microphone input to make sure that if I start screaming, it's not going to be as bad. Fiscal says, Dusty, poach me some quail eggs. I had some. Were you next to me in the restaurant? That's a bit suspicious. That is very suspicious, matter of fact. All right, I'm just quickly opening up some tabs here. Oh, my days. By the way, this is Pumpfun. Pumpfun has been the exact opposite of what one would usually call fun, huh? This is the... If you had bought in with $400,000 at the start, you'd right now have $100. No, you wouldn't. All right, it's down like 33% or so, a little bit more than that from the price which everybody could have bought at. Still pretty trashy though, because with the amount of money that they've got, you would expect them to really make this last, make this a good one. But maybe the moment that Elon said this is Jew mode, maybe, you know, maybe just maybe he was telling us something. If you do not know, Pumpfun is the most popular meme coin platform, or meme coins basically launch on, long story short. And the founder, he's very well known in the crypto community. He had a couple of fun things happening though. And a little while, first of all, he shared the most awful meme in history. Like, I'm a big meme person, not necessarily meme coin. But this is just bad, like meme-wise. This is not funny at all. But regardless, if we go slightly further down, he basically, man, what is him with the turds, dog? But he basically said, can we scroll through? Screw it, Jew mode, right? And everybody's thinking, oh, wow, because they were putting a lot of money back into the fund that's supposed to buy back Pumpfun's tokens. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be that doesn't seem to be working out right now for him, huh? That was pretty funny though. Hey, let's see real quick. Let's do a little roll call. Where's everybody watching from today? Who we got in here today? Let's see. We got NJ Galactic saying, what's up? What's up, man? We got CH saying, I went hard into H-bar, sold all my VeChain for it. I wonder, how many of y'all were actually buying this dip as well? Like, were you guys going heavy on this, or you're a bit afraid here? Okay, and I'm seeing multiple people say turn up the volume. So I'm going to see here real quick. I'm going to get rid of safe. But then the problem is, if I... yeah, I'm going to try like this. Yeah, let's hope this is okay. But the only problem now is when I start screaming. But I hope I don't do that. It's not bad right now, right? I didn't mess up anybody's ears just quite yet, no? Did I? Sorry guys, if you're wondering, I'm just gonna confirm what the best volume is, but it's hard to hear for my own, you know. US fine, this system sucks. I mean, you could be watching it on a phone. That's why I always gotta double check. Usually I open my own stream for a second and I go to my phone and see how loud it is if I put it on max volume. So let me see for now. Yeah, you see, it's not that loud. And how I can know that or see that or whatever is because if I put it on max right now, my ears are not blasted. That means it's not too loud. All right. Regardless, pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up. Yeah, I'm excited about things right now, man. I mean, oh. Damn. You guys also keep saying, Dusty, update your Chrome. Please, please update it. You know, and just to spite that one person, I'm not doing it because you've said it so many times. I was gonna, right? Because it's kind of bothering me as well. And it's always safe and wise to do that. But because you told me to do it, like you told me, like, do it, I can't do it now. By the way, anybody who got in at $3, oh, that would have been a juicy entry a few hours ago, huh? Just about 7 hours ago, XRP went just slightly below $3. Oh, that would have been amazing. I've not looked at the price chart, I think, even once, though, today. I've just been chilling on the side. I was like, you know what? Let me just see how this plays out over time. Anyway, I was asking y'all, who picked up today? I was thinking about that. Who picked up some more coins today? Dusty, you think XP will go to 3 again? I want to open a new position. You mean it went to 3 today, so I don't know what you mean. You mean after this again? Trump just posted a second ago he will start a reserve from July 28th. That would be interesting. If it was a crypto reserve, you said, I could have actually believed it. But Trump is considering stimulus checks for low-income Americans. And Aphelion says, huge news for pump holders. That's pretty funny. Let me see. Let me see if there's any new news that came out just now. Galaxy. Oh, yeah, this is actually why I wanted to start the stream, by the way. So if you're wondering what's going on, why did crypto prices tank? One of the main reasons people are pointing out is that Galaxy Digital was selling that $9 billion from the, the big Bitcoin whale. And, well, if you thought that that was the main reason why things were falling and there was no manipulation, etc., then at least that is now over. So that is something beautiful to look forward to. The fact that the main factor that supposedly was pushing us down, the $8 or $9 billion, it's gone. It's done. It's over. Now, there was some speculation about exactly which prices they sold, the 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗏. I don't know. I don't care that much either. Okay, you guys can hear that? I just heard the utmost, loudest, and most screechy scream I've heard in a long time. And as you guys might know, I'm in South America. If somebody screeches like this outside, I mean, I can't see is the problem, I think, but like, what was that? I'm like 99.9% sure you guys can't hear that, but this is scary, dog. Somebody's like, yeah, like it's a female, horrifying scream. It is only 7 p.m. though, right? So it's not the the bad boys are not really fully out yet though. Chupacabra, hey. So now let's talk about something else. I really wanted to bring this out there to a lot of people. And that was the question of when do I think of selling? Let me quickly ask you guys first. Do you consider selling all your tokens at a certain price? And I will discuss 2 things now. One is Chris Larsen's XRP, who's the co-founder of Ripple, right, and co-creator of XRP. I'll talk about his sales and why people are kind of annoyed about it, but I don't think it's a bad thing. That's one. And second, and this is the most important one, when to sell. This is not financial advice. Nothing I say in these videos is financial advice. This is just my opinion. I make no guarantees. Do you prefer coleslaw or potato salad? You know, the funny thing is, I'm not sure if you're talking to me, but I don't know why you'd ask me that. I love coleslaw, but I don't know what type of sauce it is. I sometimes think that sauce is too whack. Like, well, whatever they got on that. A death scream is never good. No, I gotta admit, somebody's screaming out there. That ain't good. I'm talking to you, Dusty. All right. Anyway, so I'm gonna quickly say, people ask me all the time, when will you sell your coins? Well, I keep stating that I think for most people, it is wise to have some sort of target in place. But in my own humble opinion, I don't think having a real set target for me is necessarily that wise. Why? Because I'm gonna be too fixated. And since I enjoy the crypto market every single day, matter of fact, almost every single second of it as well, I think it's wiser if I stay adaptive. And that means if the market is going harder than what was anticipated, I also sell higher. And I think for me, it's maybe better to stick to a plan of timing rather than fully sticking to a price target. Because also the question comes then, what am I going to sell towards? The only reason I sell coins is to buy more coins. Some of my friends, even some of the people that I know making videos, they don't do that. They sell their coins because they just want to have dollars. And I've told you 1,000 times. I think it's really nice to be dollar rich, but it's not all that. Because essentially, once you have your dollars, you have them out there. Okay, somebody should go help this person out. But it ain't gonna be me. It ain't gonna be me. I ain't going down all these floors to go check up on somebody. All right? We'll let a South American take care of this one. You know what's not in my bubble is not my problem, right? Right? I don't have a responsibility. By the way, I can't see it. I can just hear it. Could be somebody in another room screaming. I don't know. You know what? We'll just act like we didn't hear it and just continue sipping. Anyway. So, yeah, I really have thought about it for a long time. And essentially, once you've got your dollars there, especially if you've done really well in investing, you really want to invest it again. You want to continue on. And when I thought about it for a long while, I was like, well, let's say it depends on how much money you've got, right? But let's say we pick a number. This is an arbitrarily picked number. Let's say your goal was $10 million this season. Once you've hit it, now what? Some people say, now you retire, now you do this, that. If you've been working all this time, if you've been an entrepreneur all this time, you've been making income all this time, you've been putting all your effort, all your spirit into a specific thing, it's really hard to quit that unless you hated it. But most people that make significant sums of money with something that they see continuously growing, for example, your crypto adventures, you don't necessarily hate, also because it's just doing that well. So then the moment you sell and you're done, first of all, I know a lot of people that feel a little bit of and they unretire themselves pretty shortly after, partially because, well, you don't get a thrill anymore at things as much. And maybe this is different if you really have been working all your life. You're 58 now. You're really just thinking of, damn, I just want some more money. It's different than if you're a little bit younger and all you're thinking of is just to get to the next level. Get rich fast, like I always try to say. And it's not a scheme of sorts. I'm not asking for anything. You can't send me anything. I don't sell anything to you, right? I'm not making any guarantees for you. I'm just saying, I've noticed that you need to have a further plan afterwards if you want to also have a very effective sell plan. If you right now go ahead and sell all your coins and you see the price go from, let's say, XRP, from $3.14 now to $17. I mean, you had your goal. You're happy, right? But me personally, I know myself. I'm going to hate myself way more for selling at $3.14 and missing the run to $17 than the opposite way. Again, nothing here can be advised because everybody's situation is different. Maybe one of my parents, for example, maybe they have the exact opposite realm, which is, you turned $100 into $200, you're freaking satisfied because you doubled your money. And to some people, that is the case. And from that perspective, you are more perhaps risk averse. You prefer to take that, profit wherever you can, not really thinking about whatever you could have had. And I have the opposite, right? It's not always the case. It's not with a freaking small ass coin. I'm talking about the main ones, a Bitcoin, an XRP, perhaps an S&P, a gold, etc. But that's also because taking it back to dollars, these dollars are for me out here doing nothing. I have to reinvest them again. So then I take them maybe from Bitcoin, I put them back into freaking Vanguard's S&P or whatever. All I'm doing is taking it from something that performed really, really well and has a very high potential to keep continuing it on. That's why masses are buying it now at these prices. Even that's why I sold, because it's doing so well. Right? They're buying it for me because they want to invest in it now. And so theoretically speaking, you can never really end it then, right? And I've stated that before, that essentially I think the goal for many people is actually to never have to sell their coins, partially sell their coins whenever they're doing transfers, when you're paying for things, but also to basically have your coins continue to see them go up in value and use them as collateral. I mean, it's different if you were to really buy Bitcoin so early, where all of a sudden the shift was there and it went from being worth $12,000, what it was okay and cool, to all of a sudden being worth $400 million. Or this guy, right, that turned, let's say, $40,000 into $10 billion. I also understand that you don't want to wait for necessarily more. You just might as well cash it out. But we're talking about $10 billion in that sense. It's different than if you've made a good amount of money, a nice little thing. It just, again, that's why I said it really, really depends on all of us. Oh, that's the bot coming in again. I thought, again, what is this guy talking about? But Eric says, I got a forever bag. Yeah, I understand forever bags too. But then again, if you do it with small coins, you're going to end up losing like 99% of the time, I think. Because most of the coins go to zero. I'm telling you all right now, all right? This is a little bit of a of a story y'all need to know. If you are a person that likes to diversify, I think you're almost always in the better camp. If you're a person that likes to diversify into garbage, you tend to actually do really well in bull seasons, because even though it's stupid, that tends to work. But when the bear comes, which inevitably will, it's going to go down hard. And again, I'm telling you right now, if I just this is a fun fact, if I'd only kept either ETH or Bitcoin or BNB or whatever, one of these main coins, I just kept those, and I never tried my way with other coins, I'd still be up more than all that I've done. Why? Because it's hard to sell those garbage ass things because they go up so much. And now getting back to my earlier statement of, well, it's hard to see your coins selling it at $3, seeing it go to $20 the next week. At that point, with those coins, you got to have that type of mindset, which is, oh, I was able to stack some, I should be happy right here. If you remember some of the meme coins I've covered here, some of them I've held up to $200,000 and they're right now worth $400. Right? And this is multiple different coins. And maybe from these streams you think, oh, but $200,000 is not that much. Man, I could still buy a car with $200,000. It doesn't matter how much you got. I want an extra $200K, don't get me wrong, right? But it also doesn't feel like real money. If somebody's actually here stacking $100 bills and freaking packs and it's $200,000, there's no way I could have let that meme coin go down, right? But on the opposite side, it's also, if you have this mindset of I want to cherish everything, I want to keep everything, it's quite easy to sell your 1,000 for 4,000, and it's quite hard to get your 1,000 to go all the way to 200K, right? If you have this mindset already of making sure it never leaves you. However, to get back to it, still over this market, I think one of the better strategies to go for is just be a little bit careful when it comes to all these alternative coins. If you stay to the top of the top, right? You stick to all the coins that are really high up there, you tend to just do better. Unless, again, you're a person that is able to rotate. Unless it says expensive car, though. I mean, no, I don't really have any non-expensive things really anymore, I think. Even though, really, maybe you've noticed from my streams, maybe you noticed from my normal day-to-day stuff, maybe you noticed from Instagram stories, I do things very freaking normal. I don't like necessarily the extravaganza. I don't like to brag too much in that sense. I think for the streams here, though, it is sometimes more appropriate to just show some things or tell some small stories, specifically about money, just because I think it can be helpful. But I think if you've watched more than one stream, or maybe at least for more than a few minutes, you realize I'm never doing it to brag on people or to tell you, oh, I'm doing better than you, or oh, I know this trading stuff better than you. Essentially, I've told you before, you can be literally the most dumbass freaking idiot and make more money than all of us combined by just having conviction. And to revert back to some of the earlier posts I showed you earlier today, I'm going to quickly grab it here again. Right? If we take a look at, let me quickly find it. Where is it now? Take a look at Agil Trades, right? Bitcoin OG. And you see this, right? He was liquidated again for 720 Bitcoin, about $83 million, from being down 35 million, then clawing back to 3 mil profit. He's now back even deeper in the red, being minus $36 million. And it made me realize one thing. First of all, he might just be farming an airdrop. So it could be a part there that he's actually longing it on the opposite, shorting it on the opposite side, just to farm. But I actually really here think that all he's got, if you look at the trading history basically, is just conviction to long freaking BTC. And here he got wrecked at 115, specifically because we went down. It kind of feels like we were down to hunt him at 115, right? Always Bitcoin got closed out. But he's right there back opening it again. And as you can also see, the funniest thing is, if you look at his trading pattern, he starts opening at 118.6, right? He just keeps opening up as we go upwards, basically buying into the 120s, expecting this to be where we break. Now, again, he turns out he was wrong, but that's also because he's using freaking 40x leverage. But it brings up a good question, and I think it's a really interesting one, as to what gets you further, what gets you more profit over time. And I think one of the most profitable trading strategies thus far for a lot of people has been to just be an unrealistic bull. Just don't even think about it, just go hard at it. And if you sometimes get wrecked, you just open it even bigger. And again, it tends to be that you don't have to try it that many times. I don't think 40x leverage is the way to go, but obviously he's doing way better than I have ever done. So from that angle, I don't know, right? Maybe we should listen to him. But I also wonder, what if we just were to copy along with the strategy theoretically? Just fully long, don't even think about it too much. If we're able to sustain this for a while, not do this with all the balance all at once, would this not work out? Because historically speaking, it has always worked out. And the same thing goes for the S&P. The same thing goes for all this. Yes, there's drawdowns, right? The S&P has gone down like 25% in the day before. So yes, you may be screwed on the short term, but over the longer term, it's always gone up. Why do we like to almost always try to play against a working system? I sometimes really don't get that. A stupid is, a stupid does. Well, sometimes it's hard to say who is stupid when he's got 10 times as much money as you. Because money and everything can still be freaking dumb, so to speak. But does that mean he's stupid? Because essentially, he might make way better financial choices. Even though maybe intellectually he ain't there as much. You know? Timothy says it's probably Michael Saylor. He loves BTC. What? Bro, check SwiftCoin. No, you know, if you guys do this sometimes. You send me the most random ass coin to check out and be like, oh, is this? I do not care. If the market is really, really hot, I sometimes buy garbage. And that means that nobody knows about it, nobody cares. I sometimes buy it. But right now, the market is I am not looking into all these, oh, but this is actually undervalued. It's actually got this and that partnership. I don't care. I don't know. I don't care. There's too many of those. And most of them go down to freaking zero. Then buy this garbage, bro. I'm not buying no freaking ass coins. I don't want them. I don't want them. I don't care. I don't want it. It may do a freaking 50x and I'm still okay. I kept myself from buying all that. Maybe you did your analysis and you're really, really right. It's all good. But if it hasn't crossed my path already, in this type of market, you know what? I'm going to just have to accept I'm going to miss it. Oh. Freaking heart attack, dog. I thought they took my channel down again. Whoa. I was like, yep, this is it. I'm done. Shit. I really thought they got me. I was like, yep, this is my time. It's over. AI Take the World says, Dusty, if your camera's lagging, maybe you need a capture card. No, it's just specifically my recording software. Sometimes I have to just click on the camera again. And I think it's just have some input wrong. The camera itself is completely fine. It doesn't do anything strange at all. It's only my recording software that sometimes stops refreshing the camera, so to speak. I have a capture card of sorts. Otherwise, it's impossible without one. These cameras are way too slow for that. Dusty, will you at some point disappear off of YouTube? This is basically the question here. No, I think really, to explain that, I think you'd be surprised how much money some people have and that they're still doing the exact same thing. It's really hard to judge in that sense. It's really, really hard to judge how much somebody's got or how much they're earning. It could be a freaking twink-ass guy. There's one little freaking, okay, I shouldn't say his ethnicity, right? But you look at him thinking, oh, he's not even worth 70 cents. And he's the richest one in the room, if you know what I mean. It's really, really hard to tell. And from there, I realized you just got to do, because that person is still doing the same exact thing as always, I realized you just got to do whatever the frick you want. And so the amount of money earned here doesn't necessarily change anything from my day-to-day outtakes unless I stop investing. If I stop doing things, if I stop buying things, if I stop all that stuff, it's possible, right? But I don't know. It doesn't necessarily seem like that's on the horizon. And the amount of money doesn't necessarily change that because I told you before, regardless of how much you got, first of all, you can always have more. Nice, capitalistic. But more importantly, you still got to invest. Like literally every single rich person I know, they always are looking for the next opportunity, the next big thing. Sometimes I don't fully understand why. I'm like, if you already have yourself $1.5 billion, for example, what are you still even doing it for? But a lot of people just, this is their thing, right? They've made a legacy. This is their baby that they're developing. And some people just want to get it all. They want the freaking world for themselves. And then again, to some extent, like, but I also get it. Because you had to do quite a lot of work most of the time to get to that level. Anyway, how's the bots doing, you might ask? Well, they were down pretty tremendously just last night, right? If you take a look at ADA here, it was down, what? Let's take a look. 25%, but right now it's back down to just 11. Solana was down pretty much, but it's also recovered again. And again, the nice thing is, it's still able to cash out those grids every single time it goes down and back up. We do pretty well off of that. And that's, again, one of the beautiful parts. Dogecoin here is still down tremendously. Not down enough where I would have bought the dip, but still down pretty tremendously. Is somebody taking pictures? One sec. I just saw a big flash. Maybe it's actually thunderstorming or something. I don't know. Because I'm not sure how they can take a picture all these floors up. But I saw a big flash. Then again, continuing on. BTC not doing much. We didn't actually put much in. Curve is back in the big green. Really interesting. XRP coin margined. This is again in XRP. It's doing pretty okay. Link is still up beautifully. Aave is doing really, really garbage. Pengu is still up amazing. Algorand is also a bit ass. I didn't actually like Algorand. Still, I'm going to put it out there, right? Algorand, I could have actually reinvested here as well. If I did, we would right now be in some pretty good profit, but I didn't see it. It was just for a blink little moment, somewhere in the middle of the night. IOTA doing a little bit bad, but again, we look at the grid profits in bad times like this, all that we care about. We don't care too much about the price action. And most of them are doing pretty freaking well. I mean, being up 7.6% in 12 days, purely off of what has been able to cash out, that's what we're doing it for, right? And you can see the difference. Tron has not been that volatile. We're only up 1% in 12 days, but still, over a year, that's still 30% back. So from that angle, even if we were to keep doing what we do now, right? A lot of these other ones are better. It doesn't necessarily have to stay that way because ultimately your P&L could be more down than whatever your grids will earn. So that's, again, you want the assets to over time still go up, but I still believe almost any single one of these will. There's a few suspicious ones, you know? But generally speaking, I expect all of these to do really, really well. Also, in terms of grid profits on our 10K to a million challenge, we should almost be able to reinvest. Oh, I got rid of my camera, I see. But we're down, so we can't do it just quite yet. But we're getting there, we're getting there. Eric says, all the best, man. I'll catch you later. IG. Were you born into money? No, I've told you the whole story like a lot of times of how my whole crypto journey started. You know what I sometimes think? This guy, he is making the chat a lot more lively, but it is a bit stupid. And I've thought before it's a bot, but I wonder if he just takes the previous... I'm going to have to study what exactly he's doing. Marcus says, Dusty, is there a good strategy for a bear market to keep making money on stuff? I mean, even a bear market, essentially, if you're looking for like a day-by-day thing, I'd say the only thing you got to do is just learn some sort of skill. Because there's less runners, right, in almost any bear market. But it's only a very short amount of time. How long does a bear market last? Like one year? So if you really want to keep it up, it's hard to say. But if your goal is just to set yourself up again for the good markets, because it's 3 years up, 1 year down thus far, then all you got to do is just consistently buy your way down. Because, essentially, unless you turn completely bearish on the coin, it should recover. And so you get yourself a really, really good grip as you buy your way towards the bottom. We're about to crash. What's going on? Let's take a look. We're doing pretty good. I mean, for the fact that so much FUD was out there, there was so much fear of, all these billions of dollars are going to be sold. It's going to be so scary. It's this, that, this, that. it ended up not being that bad a situation. I am thinking of banning that guy though, because he's talking too much ass. What's also funny, if I look at a chat box, right? You want to know the big difference that it makes, whether or not the market is up ever so slightly, a pretty good penny, or a lot. It's just everybody wants to talk. Everybody wants to get an opinion. Everybody wants to know if they can still buy or how much more up it goes. And it's so funny to me how when the market is down and when there's opportunities, there's all these different chances. Oh, you can really go, go, go. All of a sudden, we still have a lot of the locals, you know. Larsen is still here. All the boys are still here. Bobby's still here. But a lot of people just don't show up for some reason. Okay, vote. You guys want CP banned? Just say yes or no. �𝗔𝗪𝗀𝗃 is here. Oliver is here. Folsom says, seems like a bot. Yeah, I was honestly just keeping him in because I thought, you know what, it's livening up the chat a little bit. It's something to look at, you know. I was like, man, he's the one speaking the most. But you guys have spoken. Let's get rid of him. Oliver is saying no. You know what? We'll give him a 24-hour. Let's see if he comes back. Maybe we can enjoy it afterwards. Let's see. No. I don't show up on down days because it affects my mental too much. So I just don't want to think about it. Lol. I do get that. I do get it. Very much so. But essentially, and this is a funny thing to me, if the down days get you sad, but the up days you show up and do good, what do you do in those up days? Do you sell, or what's the difference? Because theoretically speaking, on the down days, there's opportunity. On the days where things are not doing that good, you get to really reevaluate whether or not you believe in it, or you've over-positioned yourself, or what. Because those thoughts you have on the down days, you should always keep in your mind when things are up. And if you really get depressed and you're not happy, you're not good, there's something wrong with your strategy. Because even though I sometimes, and this I think is logical, you can sometimes look at your positions and think, oh, is this gonna last? Okay, but that's logical, because even though it's part of the strategy, you still might be playing over the edge or on the edge a little bit. But if I get depressed off of the market going down, I don't think that would be nice. The only thing I get depressed over to some extent is you guys not showing up, you know, because I support your boy, you know. Come in this chat box every freaking day, like your life depends on it. That's what you should be doing. That's what you should be doing. But no, I feel depressed. Shut up and keep watching. No, I'm joking. But in reality, it is quite stupid when you start breaking it down. Now, I'm not calling you stupid in that sense. I think the mindset is kind of strange. And when things are up, it's all really, really easy. Matter of fact, you shouldn't necessarily really have to pay attention when things are up, because it's all up anyway. Well, what is there to do? When things are down, that's where interesting things pop up. Like, ooh, how far is this? How will things reverse? All that. Do I still have the conviction? Oh, where's like-minded people that might have conviction? Who can help me up here? Whereas if things are up and everybody's just saying, I'm doing good, but nobody's selling, like, what's the point? What are you doing there? Oh. Oh, sure, but keep me closer, and I'll call you when the party's over. I mean, have a really low liquidation price, so it's all good. I'm just anxious person. Yeah. I mean, you know, they also have a little saying that nobody's an atheist at 100x leverage, because all of a sudden you start praying to freaking God or something. It is a little bit true that, you know, everybody's a freaking genius when the market is up, and everybody's confident when the market is up. And all of a sudden when the market comes down, a lot of people ain't so confident no more, ain't so sure about their whole strategy no more, and sometimes ain't as big a genius no more. And that's, so like I said before, that's the time where you really start reevaluating whether or not you believe in what you're actually buying. Because I told y'all, right? This was a minus 100,000. Right now it's plus 250. Why didn't I sell it plus 400? If I had the freaking foresight, if I had the power now of, I can go back and twinkle it into my brain that this was definitely going to be the top, I would have probably sold everything, right? And then bought back cheaper. But you don't know for sure. It could have very well been so that I sold at 366, where you cashed at almost 40K right there, right? And then all of a sudden, it went blasting through to $6 just in the same week without any real breaks. And there comes the question, what do I prefer? Do I prefer to take my chances and just let it ride, and in the middle see some shifts in my P&L? And if you're a really good trader, you could actually take advantage of those opportunities, but I sometimes like to take it a bit slower in that sense. Then again, I think for most people, my strategy is not that wise. I think this becomes wiser the more money you've got, but also I'm also just want to show to people just how cool these things can get over time. And I think if you're really focusing only on yourself, you don't have to showcase to anybody. You should also do things a bit differently. And the same thing applies for example, my bots. If I was doing it purely on my own, not to show anybody, I'd probably do it slightly different because, for example, these grid profits, I think from any perspective, it's better to always just take them out. Because what are you going to let them in for, right? Just take them out and either put them back into something or maybe put it as margin or whatever. Because essentially, if you've just cashed out enough in grid profits, it might never wreck you again. It's just like a free roaming thing, right? But for watching, it is way cooler to see how the bots have really done over the past few months. This, for example, 80 days, right? 50K in times 5 on the leverage. But we're up 18K on just the grids. And if XRP doesn't go back below 211, even matter of fact, if it goes all the way down to maybe $1.80 or something like that, funnily enough, we'd still actually be up because of all the grid profits. But I could have also cashed them out and just added it as margin, which probably would have resulted in an even better situation. But I think it's essentially the same thing though, even if you don't press cash out. Maybe it also automatically acts as margin. I don't even know. I've never let it happen to me yet to get that close. Colonel says, I rarely check my portfolio on down days because I believe so much I don't want to even entertain selling. Yeah, I said to you before, Conan, to some extent, the best days to watch your portfolio are when things have gone down really, really hard. Because then, and this is what I've done for myself. I told y'all I've never really bought crypto before, right? There's been some times in the past where I actually did put like a little bit of money in, like maybe, I don't know, $40 or something like that, or maybe $100, I don't know. But let's just say I all started this entire journey with a giveaway because I didn't have any way to actually purchase crypto. And if you go back to, you can't see them anymore because they're private, but if you go back to my earliest of earliest videos, you'll see me trading with freaking $4 and some really funny situations. It's actually in Bitcoin. So 0.00007 Bitcoin or whatever the frick. Like I'm trying to basically stack Satoshi. And that is funny to me sometimes because first of all, people say, oh, can you really make a lot of money off of like $100? And I always say, oh man, the things you could do is just about, I always call it having a little bit of a lucky break, as in everybody could do some, right? And not everybody will be successful. Even though they all try the same thing, not everybody will make it out, even if they do the exact same things. And the same thing could be for you uploading a video. Maybe you and 15 people upload the exact same video. One out of those 15 may be really, really successful. The other 14 ain't. It's not necessarily just your skill. It could also just be what I'm going to call a bit of luck or just algorithmic boosting, which you might not have control over. And the same thing goes for trading, where you might literally all have the exact same plan, but one person, for example, opened it at $3.01 and the other person opened it at $2.97, right? Just because the one person started it and then the other person said, oh, I'll do it as well. He opened it 5 minutes later. And then the price, when the wick came down, it went to 3.0, right? And the person who bought it 3.01 got wrecked, and the person who bought it 2.97 didn't. And all of a sudden, that person has the most craziest of longs. That's all of a sudden massive amounts of profit, and he can snowball off of that, while the other person sits depressed and didn't try again, or had his entry lower, but it never got hit. You get my drift? So that can sometimes happen. Why am I telling you this story? Well, because that all taught me one very important thing. Not everything is in your control, but some people are able to do it. And if you try hard enough, if you don't try, it will definitely not be you. And if you try hard enough, there's a higher chance that it will be you. Now, what I've learned over time, though, is that all this money, especially with me not knowing where it came from, because it all came from nothing, essentially, right? That's also how I always see it. So people say, oh, you're not losing if you don't sell. Because I'm in a no tax place anyway, it doesn't matter if I sell or I don't sell in that sense. You know, unrealized, realized is all the same to me. And for that reason, I lost $800,000 on Mantra. I talked about that before. People say, it's not, you don't really lose it because, well, it depends on how much you put in. And I keep saying, I don't think it matters how much you put in. Because since it's liquid, I can always cash the full position out. And that's what I lost in my own head. Essentially, maybe not fully true. But even now, if this position, the XRP position, I can sell it right now. Cash out another $212,000, right? I can open the exact same position again. Now, all of a sudden, right? I mean, I've cashed it out, so I made $200,000 profit. Ooh, amazing. Now, once I open it up again and it starts going down, I've actually lost it. To some people will say, yeah, then you really lose the money because you can see it. So, but in P&L, they don't count it as you making the money. I count it as making it because if I only click right here, I click this, boom, I've got $200,000 in my account right now, right now, extra, right now. So I count it as having that money. But that's also because I don't have an average price. I don't think about the average price. I just think about how much do I have. The reason I don't like to check in bull markets, I only like to check in bear or in bad weeks or whatever, is because I start counting myself richer than you might really be. If you're not going to sell everything, it almost always drags you down if you start looking at the number. Let's say you started with $1,000. Right now it's $7,000, right? You look. Oh, you're happy. You're amazing. Oh, this is so good. All of a sudden, a little bit afterwards, you look. You're saying a little. I'll answer your question in a second. A little bit afterwards, you look, and it's 5,500. Now you feel like you've lost something. All of a sudden, you look a little bit later. Now it's at 3,300. Again, if you started with 1,000, it's still up tremendously, but you're going to think about how much you were down. If you didn't look in this entire period, maybe, just maybe, when it's back at 3,300, you're like, oh, whoa, I've gone from 1,000 to 3,300, amazing. And then you're like, oh, it was up even more before, but you don't really think about that too much. But if you're watching it daily, it hurts a lot more. And this will hurt more and more the more money you've got. On the opposite side, you get used to it as well. Back in 2019 probably, I could get really sad over this. I could be watching my screen just in sorrow, like, because the amount of money you could lose. You could sometimes lose half your portfolio in a freaking day if you're buying altcoins. And it was really, really sad times. You know, sometimes you look at it thinking, damn, why didn't I just sell? Why didn't I? But my personal thoughts are, if you're not gonna, it's better to sometimes not know exactly how much you have. Just a guessing game. And it's fine if you can calculate it up in the back of your head. But I think there's a complete difference because I always know about how much I got, right? I have an idea. But if I know the exact amount, I think it hurts me more. And the same thing applies to me now. Now that I've got these bigger trades open, I open my exchange accounts every single day. And the sad thing about it is before I used to open, depending, right? Because I have accounts for trading and I have just some accounts that I had from way in the past. It's just that I hold my own coins on, basically. And those I don't open at all. Like my old Binance, I have a few Binance accounts that, funny story about that. But I don't open them maybe once every year and a half or something like that nowadays. Or every year, let's say, maybe once I open it. And it's actually a lot more peaceful because I just don't think too much about how much is in there. Like I look at it once and I'm like, oh, here's that much. But then after like half a year or a year, you kind of forget. And since the market has progressed as well, you don't know if it's up or down. But because I've got so many other places that I've got my money stashed in, I also don't mind too much. And again, whenever I do look, I tend to, for that one, look in the peakest of peak markets, just when I'm doing like a calculation of everything. But that's once again, in my opinion, like once a year or something like that. I think that is fine. Just to get a good overview of what do you have and what is the position. But that's also maybe because you're thinking of selling things, right? As an example. Anyway, you guys are saying, we need a new mod. You say, add Mrs. XRP as a mod. Oh, I wanted to almost ban her. Let's add her. You're right. We'll add Mrs. XRP as a mod. You're right. You're right, Lessa. Unless it's you guys conspiring to take down my channel. Could be. Kung Fu says, I second the promotion. Webb says, of course, because you have to check if you got hacked. What? Let me see. Gentex says, leverage is the problem. You see, Gentex, I keep referring to this leverage thing as, for most people, leverage can be a really big beauty. It's just people's unknowingness, or you call it. Like, if you do not know how to use leverage properly, I think that is a way more of the issue than leverage itself. Because if you know how to use it, you could theoretically speaking stick to very, very low leverage and most of the time come out unscathed and with just more gains. Again, people are too overzealous. But if you look at some of the best traders in the world, I don't know a single one that doesn't use leverage. We got G. Scott here. We're coming in with the $5. Thank you very much, Scott, for the $5 US. Saying, hypothetically, could a $200 million sell on XRP versus an artificially manipulation of minus 200 possibly make XRP spike up higher eventually, like a trampoline? So I'm thinking you're referring to Chris Larsen's 200 million XRP because, or dollars of XRP, because this is the most trendy topic, and it's a bit too specific for you to be asking this when Chris Larsen just moved a couple $100 million worth of XRP. I think it's too coincidental, right? You're saying, yep. So I'll tell you, Mike, because I was actually going to do that right at the start of the video. I promise that. Let me give you the rundown of Chris Larsen. First of all, let's break things down. One, Chris Larsen is a multi-billionaire. He co-founded or co-created the XP Ledger. He's a co-founder of Ripple, both of which he's got billions of dollars into. You know, just logically, Ripple, he's got Ripple stock, which is worth billions, and XRP, he's got XRP already sold worth billions. He's still got XRP worth billions. He's a multi-billionaire. Let's put that straight. Now, we go back to our earlier scenario of Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is also a multi-billionaire, centibillionaire, whatever you want to call it. He still sold $1 billion or something like that, just last week or something like that. Why did he do that? Well, first of all, because theoretically speaking, diversification is key. That's one. Second of all, you may want to spread that stock or thing around more. Maybe you want there to be more around. But mostly from another perspective, maybe you just want to enjoy it. I mean, Jeff Bezos could offload every single piece of stock he has, but the main reason he doesn't is probably partially because, well, that would bring a lot of fear into it. But also because he thinks it's going to keep doing really, really well. He wants to stay involved in case it does do really, really well, right? And he does not want to be directing everything without any real interest in it. But the reason they've got the majority of it, even if it's selling a good bunch all the time, is because, theoretically speaking, you might just want to realize it if you've done so well, especially if you've been doing this for the past 20 years, whatever, and maybe move on to something else. Maybe just realize it because otherwise it's only just sitting there. And you might say, yeah, but Jeff Bezos doesn't need it. You should borrow against it. Yeah, but I mean, essentially, he probably knows better what to do with his money than all of us, right? He could sell way larger quantities. He could have 1,001 strategies against it. Matter of fact, just to get back to Chris Larsen's 200 million XRP. Remember, Chris and all these guys could literally short XRP, say some really, really bad stuff about it, and get the price to zero really quickly, right? And make a ton of money on the process of those coins going down. Or they short the freaking crap out of XRP and make the price really go down hard. But no. They essentially have too much XRP for them to want the price to go down. Then again, why does a billionaire sometimes sell the thing they think is going to go better? Well, because if you got this for free, let's say, and you've got $10 billion worth, I don't think it's sometimes that strange if they want to cash out. And again, if you're going to follow a freaking person's movements of funds, you don't know what they're moving it for. So what happened here is Chris Larsen, oh, I'm stuck. I see. Sorry, boys. Give me a sec. It's annoying, right? If he is, to get back to it, if he is a tremendous, no, I was saying, if he's moving money around, just because he's moving it around doesn't mean he's selling it. And even if you were, what does that mean? Is that a bad thing? It's 200 million. It's not really that much at all. He could, for example, for all you know, he could be buying $500 million on the side. Or he could have actually sold it to another entity who's now going to be holding it. Maybe he sold it for a discount. You know, and the other entities bought it cheaper, and they're going to bring a lot more value. Maybe he's transferring it for a partnership. I'm not saying those are all true. I'm just saying there is the possibility of it. And Pepe says, that's why you don't buy garbage that devs dump on you like Brad and the founder. Pepe is not better. I mean, the founders made a lot of good money off of that. And Pepe, essentially, from a founder perspective, is also very much garbage. But they're all the same. You don't know how much the founders of Pepe have. Who knows how much the dev still has? It's hard. It's impossible to find out. You know what I also like? When people say meme coin stories of, no, the dev dumped it for a little bit. He dumped it for $100,000 and it was a CTO, community takeover. Like, you know what's going on in the back end of things. Nobody can prove all these different things. People have their own theories. But essentially, I think every single coin comes back to the same problem. Andrew says, did the hotels ever bring you that water bottle? They bring me water bottles all the time. Matter of fact, they brought me a freaking 12-pack. I didn't even ask them to. They just brought it, which was amazing. And G says, I was just wondering if that could be a good strategy, and maybe he sees the moment in the chart to possibly help the project ultimately. No. The probability of Chris Larsen with his own money doing that to manipulate the XP price, I think is quite unlikely. There'll be people making videos about it saying, Chris Larsen is doing it for this and that reason. These are all garbage people. If somebody's telling you they know what Chris Larsen is doing, it's because they're either idiotic, right? And they're feeding you a lie because they're just ignorant and stupid. Yeah, or they're ignorant and stupid. Actually, there's only one option. They're freaking retarded. You know, they're dumb. And this is sometimes where I shouldn't be calling people dumb and stuff, right? But I think there's too many people blatantly lying to you about things. And specifically when it comes to XRP, some people are so delusional. And when I look at my comment section, the amount of people that cannot count is sometimes scary to me. And it makes me, again, I'll go back to my video that I made earlier. I'll go back. Give me a second. And it made me realize, first of all, I'm so happy that 99% of you literally have a freaking proper brain. It helps. It makes my life so much better. It makes my life so much more enjoyable, especially these streams. But let me find out real quick. Where was it now? Here we go. Here we go. 80 XRP be worth if it hit $5,000 per XRP? Well, I just did the math over on Google, and apparently it's about 300 million. Because again, if you do 5,000 times 8, that's about 40,000. And of course, times 10 apparently brings us to this number. So yeah, follow for more math tips. Now, I think somebody in grade 0 could understand that obviously this is a joke because the question is just a bit stupid, you know? Because basically there's a little thing going on where people often ask me how much it is. But then I sometimes look on the side. And this is, by the way, don't look at this, don't mind this. I should actually get rid of it because it's just comments of people that are garbage. But Sarah, as a normal question, like pretty sad that people are actually asking this instead of doing the simple multiplication. Sure. But the amount of people just talking about that the math ain't good instead of just saying like haha or something like that. Or just tell me the right number, like how much it actually should be. Dude, it's 400K, not 300 million. Like, I don't know how to calculate it. Wrong answer? Or 400K, or apparently. There's a few people who get it. Or people just don't understand market cap. I mean, theoretically speaking, you can understand market cap fully well and just still ask a question of how much it would be. But my principle stood on the idea of how could somebody ever ask? The question is one thing, but not see the joke was another. But this is not, you know, this is just some, right? There's some of the comments you can see. A lot of them were also laughing, by the way. It's not like everybody is. But there were too many people where I was just suspicious of it. You understand what I mean? I mean, again, you get it. I don't have to keep continuing on here. And then I realized, you know what? I think if you are just doing your thing right now, buying these coins, and you actually understand a little bit about anything, you're probably doing better than 99% of the people around. Like, you got to sometimes remember, I often tell you all this. The average intelligence, right? Just say there's a line right there. Half of the people are below it. So I'm not sure if, let's just say we are all average, just watching this, right? Just average, normal Joe, whatever. Half of them are below. And there's still grades to that where a lot of people are really at the freaking bottom of the barrel. And the funniest thing is, a lot of those people, a little bit down lower, they succeed so well in investments sometimes, because they're delusional and stupid. And now when I look back at these coins, a lot of people don't know what they're buying for. They just buy off a freaking video, which I always think is stupid. But then again, sometimes it just works out well. And if I look at some of my friends also, some of my friends are also really stupid when it comes to risk management. But it works. Why? Because they bought in a good market and all they did was just be delusional and believe in something. And it ends up that because these assets have always gone up in the history of time, and they just lack that sense of risk management, asset management. They just lack that because they don't properly think about anything. If they were to lose, they'd be like, man, it's down. What? Man, it's down. Should I sell? But if sometimes the market just keeps moving up, you never get to that point. And again, I see somebody, you can't see it. Somebody else asking, I hope this guy is joking because the math is not correct. There's not anybody out there who cannot calculate 5,000 times 80, right? 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 I hope. There are a lot of people who can't add 100 plus 10. Yeah. I bet you're not mistaken. How's your 𝗬𝗎 bot? I'm pretty good. You know, the funniest thing is, if the price doesn't go for a massive crash, it's also harder to know how good they've been doing. It's up 17% or so in grids. But obviously, all the stuff I have opened more recently now is, theoretically speaking, doing significantly better because the volatility is just so much higher. So relatively, when I opened these, things were doing good. Then for a couple weeks, it was all down, doing nothing. Like the reason that, for example, these are able to cash out 4% in just 4 days and the other one's 16% in all these 90 days or 70 days or 80 days is because the times here are way more turbulent. XRP adds 2 billion XRP to the supply every month. There's no XRP adding to the supply, theoretically. It depends on how much Ripple takes out of escrow, you mean that, right? But it depends on how much Ripple keeps and how much they send back in, I guess. Because the majority always gets sent back, right? But I have not updated myself on the supply situation in a long time. Then again, there's a finite amount of coins out there, so I guess it doesn't matter that much. They used to buy Hidden Road. Essentially, every single crypto company, I told you before, there's only a few that essentially have an actual product that they really make the money on, and they never sell their own token. But most of them, they sell their own token. And the funny thing is, if you're using it as some sort of fee, depending on which one, they might get that fee and they might sell that token then to buy back the token. or actually, now I'm thinking about it, that's actually a really funny thing. Let's say you take a platform and you pay the fees in their native asset. Now, I guess the only way for them the asset to do really, really well is if they use that funds to sell, to buy something good with it for the protocol or for the people, or they use that money to sell it to buy back the token. You know, that's a really funny circle when you start thinking about it. People would get excited over that. If you generate fees in a certain currency and you sell all that just to have dollars to buy back that currency, people would still see it as a positive thing. Even though essentially what they're doing is you're just looping it around. What's your take on Brad and Larsen holding way too much XRP? Satoshi has, let's say 10% of Bitcoin. Ethereum Foundation has most of the Ethereum. Vitalik has freaking a ton of Ethereum. CZ has most of the BNB, I probably think, or at least the Binance guys. You have too much? Too much? What is too much? How much Amazon stock does freaking... How much Amazon stock does Jeff Bezos own? Jeff Bezos now has about 9%. Okay, let's see. How much Elon Musk, how much Tesla? Elon is about 13%. SpaceX. Elon owns about 42% of SpaceX, currently valued at 147 billion. SpaceX recently valued at 350 billion though. When you really start breaking it down, and this is a really interesting question I should ask you. If he's got too much, would you prefer if they sold it out to the normal people just to get less? Wouldn't you necessarily sort of want them to have a really big control or a really big amount so that they really want it to do well? The less they have, the less they should care. The more they sell, the more they, theoretically speaking, lose interest and try to go for something else, no? Let's say we take Amazon. If Jeff had 100%, then that's his freaking baby. He's got to do all for that. If he's got 0.1%, well, you know, if it does well, he might still make money off it, but he doesn't care as much. Elm says, Dusty, on Panics, I always go for 400. If you don't know, I would always go for 500, unless you're doing the minimum with the bots. I always go the highest possible. Now, guys, now comes real questions, all right? This is for all of you that are in a privileged position. If you ever fly, I have a question for you. Nah, I don't want to ask. You know what? I'll keep it to myself. I had a question, but I shouldn't be asked. Sometimes, you know, letting my things loose like that. I had a question though. John says, trying to learn more of the bots. I'll make another video maybe later today about the bots because I'm thinking about it. Like, I don't understand how people are not getting it, but I seriously, and this is not finished advice, no make if I could go back in time, the only thing I'd do is just set up more of these. Theoretically, I could also say I would just long even more. But in essence, that's always true, right? If you really look at the crypto market, all you've had to do throughout all time is just buy more, long harder, in this case also set up more bots. The thing is, the bots are a little bit more or less sensitive to exact market timing. But if you really look back, I've had this XP position open for a long time. It was minus $100,000 first. Right now it's plus 200K. If I'd opened the full position back then, the amount of money would be down. Ooh. But I remember that when I went to 199 or something like that, or 186, I don't remember, like a few weeks ago, I told you on the stream, I need to buy. But there was something happening. Was it Trump? Was it Israel? I don't remember. And I remember I was in Chile at the time. And I said, okay, I should buy $1 million or $2 million. I don't remember. I think $1 or $2 million right now. But, and I found another excuse for myself. And then the next day it pumped like 20% or something. And I was thinking about like, ooh, I'll be up $200,000 right now on it. Because I wanted to open Chris opened a 2.2 million XRP position. So about $5 million at the time, something like that. I was thinking, I think that was 211 or something, or 230. And I think my price was 211. I was thinking, okay, I actually have the chance now to basically do better. Or there was some sort of thinking process there. All I need to do is just open a few $1 million extra. Just try our luck. But then something happened and was like, ooh. Okay, I'll only open a couple 100,000. Only open like $500,000. And now looking back and I'm thinking, damn, yeah, I should have just gone for it. But that's the funny thing. Every single time afterwards you think, oh, if only. But then when the time is there, like right now, we're still relatively quite low. We're like 50 cents below an all-time high, right? But at these times, everybody's scared. They only start buying in when the market's really, really hot again. Trust me, it goes like this every single time. I've been around. And there's one thing I can tell you is that people love to buy when things are up and they hate to buy when things are down. And for a bear market, I kind of understand that. But in the bull market, you guys saying H-bar is going nuts, huh? Yeah, it's been going up really, really consistently, actually. It's one of the only coins in the entire top that's continued to go up. But I find it kind of odd that H-bar is now top 15. Like, the performance they've had here is insane. I thought H-bar was way lower, like 24th or something. But they're 15th. They're above freaking AVEX. Like, what? up 10% throughout the day. The dip has just been erased for 𝗓𝗂. And if you really start thinking about it again, if Bitcoin just continues this on and the fear is gone, is it not again worth it to take our risks and go a bit crazy on the longs? Kung Fu says, I think the same sometimes. Had the opportunity to buy a whole Bitcoin when it was 4,000, but never did. Felix says, I use BitUnix. You can't use bots on there, so use a different exchange. Yeah. Pancake says, ask away, we're all learning. No, this was just about I was asking a personal question to y'all, but I was like thinking, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe soon. Trump has all Trump coin. 𝗕𝗓𝗀 killing it. Yep. W says, 1 a.m. in the morning here, bro. Crypto never sleeps. This is true. Where are you at? Where is it 1 a.m. right now? Is that, I'll probably like in main Europe. I think it should be 1 a.m. 𝗕𝗓𝗀 going. Yep. Let 𝗕𝗓𝗀 surge. G says, them having as much as they do could be good for the project. I think so almost every single time. That if they have a lot, they also want things to do really, really well. And it doesn't necessarily say anything about anything. NJ says, I could have bought 1 or 2 Bitcoin back in 2018. I didn't learn my lesson. Guys, I keep reminding you, the amount of Bitcoin I've lost to trivial things, to random altcoins, to my watch that I bought, right? I mean, even this watch. Let me grab it. Even this one, you got to understand. If I had just kept the money in crypto from when I bought this, which was, I don't remember which year this was. I can look it up probably. But this is, I guess not one of the more expensive ones I've got, but it's the middle class, right? But if I just kept it, I could have bought a really cool and expensive watch off of it, right? It's still not cheap, by the way. It's still multiple tens of thousands. But, and I bought it at the bit of the top of the market too. Let me find out. But then you really start realizing all you had to do throughout all this time is just freaking buy these coins and shut up. Buy these coins and shut up. Buy these coins and shut up. That's all you had to do. Okay, you want to get really, really depressed, guys? I bought this watch in December of 2022. You want to get really depressed? You want to get really, really depressed? The moment I bought this watch, Bitcoin was $16,000. You want to know, you remember like the old watch I used to always have, like one specific Rolex? You know, I bought that Rolex when Bitcoin was not even $5,000 back in 2019, I think, maybe 2020. No, 2018, I think. Maybe 2018 or 2019. I think maybe 2018 somewhere. I think it was like $3,500 or something. And that, let's just say, I don't remember, right? But let's just say it was a little bit. Because this also, if you think about it, let's say it's just maybe 3 or so Bitcoin, right? Right now, that could have been $500,000 almost. Okay, nah, it's like 350K, but still. But if you start thinking about it like that, some of the trivial things I used to buy a membership for some sort of trading thing. It used to be 0.5 Bitcoin. It used to be like $500 a month, I think, or something like that. There's another one, 0.1 Bitcoin, 0.1, 0.1, 0.5, 1 Bitcoin maybe for a yearly membership, 1 Bitcoin. Yeah, it's all like, oh, $2,000, oh, this, that. If you really start thinking about all this stuff, about, oh, how much I could have had, brother, all you got to do, hey, thus far, is just remember that whatever you spend it on is probably going to be worth 10 times, the amount you spend on it is probably going to be worth 10 times as much in the future. So really realize for yourself, is it worth it? Because I now think, hey, you know what? I had enjoyment out of it. I don't give a crap about how much it would have been. I really don't. And the same thing for the old watch that I could have bought a freaking house with if I didn't buy it, right? Just to name an example. I don't care about that too much no more. For a little moment, because I bought it like on the way up of crypto, I kind of hated myself. Like, damn, I was stupid. Because I literally sent the person BTC. But from that angle, anytime you cash out over time, you're probably going to make a mistake from an investment perspective. But for your mental, for your livelihood, all that stuff is just sometimes a good idea. The same thing they say about cars. So many people told me, don't buy this, don't buy that, don't do that. Shut up. If you want to enjoy something, go ahead and do it, man. I told you how much I sometimes, I told you how much I spend sometimes in a month. It's not because it's wise financial decisions, but also because you're not going to be as young as you are right now. And at some point, I also told, maybe I told the story. If you want to know when you should only fly business or when you should only fly private or all this type of stuff, it basically comes down to one thing. First of all, I think the cost of it should never, in my opinion, should never exceed your daily income. So let's say you want to fly for $5,000. If you're not earning at least $5,000 a day, I don't think that should be wise. Again, we're talking about extra expenses, right? Luxuries, not flying itself. If you want to take a vacation and stuff, I do get all that. I'm talking about like extra luxuries. You want to fly business or private when you don't have to, right? Again, if you have to, different. This is if you don't have to. It's just as a luxury. If it's exceeding your daily income, I don't think it's necessarily a wise idea. That's the baseline. But more importantly, and this is what triggered it from my head, it's the matter of, let's say you are an economy, it's 1,000. Let's say you want to go business for the one way, it's 5,000. This is a very realistic scenario. Would you, if you're in the front of the plane, if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, do you want to switch seats perhaps? Here's $4,000 for the next 9 hours. Do you want to switch? Do you mind sitting in the back? And I give you these $4,000. If you would rather have the 4,000, if somebody were to give you this, let's say it was free, right? Like, you wanted this $4,000 to go sit in the back? If you'd rather take that, well, then you get yourself your answer. If you'd be like, yeah, no, I'm good. You give it to somebody else. I don't care about your 4,000. Yeah, that's, I think, the moment where you're like, okay, truly in a different level, where this is probably the best choice for you. And the same thing goes for cars, and it goes for so many different things. I always think back at the moment of, you can always say, oh, but I could have invested it. Essentially, almost any single person that's investing can be rich when they're old, but the whole cool part is getting it as young as possible. And it doesn't mean you have to be at freaking 19, right? It just means as young as humanly possible. Even if you start at 55, that means try to get to it as soon as possible by, for example, 59, you want to get to it instead of 67. Still, that could save you 8 years of golden ages. And the older you get, the more every single year matters. But I really start thinking that's maybe a better way to live. Live frugally, I think, is also wise until you get a good sizable amount to actually invest with. And once you've made a good amount, always size back a little bit until you have a safe haven. But once you've got a safe haven, you've got sweet rolling. What are you being so scroungy for? And this is a double-edged sword, right? Some people, they go too crazy. But I've got friends who spend more money than I do. If we go out, they're like, oh, let's buy this, let's that. I'm like, bro, the price of that? That's crazy. Why would you spend so much on that thing? And they're like, who cares? Or they sometimes like to say, you're rich. Who cares? Man, I do care. It's all about relative things, right? Just because you've got some doesn't mean you have to be delusional about it. And the reason this gets sometimes hard is if you've got big positions open, because you realize I was up $200,000 more, let's say, on this a few days ago, right? My portfolio, let's say you look at only a Bitcoin or XRP, every single one you have was up so much more a few days ago. So what is it $200 to you then? If your portfolio changes millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands or thousands or hundreds of dollars a day, if it's hundreds of dollars, what is it? 10 cents to you, right? And so it kind of stacks up. The more money you've got, oh, but you can just spend it because you wouldn't notice it anyway. Still, it's about relative cost. There's people I know that earn hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, and you might think, oh, is that really possible? It is. You'd be surprised how many people do really, really well that first of all you wouldn't notice, and you will not find out until you're there. It's crazy to me sometimes still, because I've only also known that for like maybe 5 years or so, that people are actually out there doing these crazy numbers. Maybe not every single day, but still on a pretty consistent basis. It's really, really wild. You'd be surprised. But still, they live to some extent quite frugally. Some people really do. And then there's some others who earn, let's say, $3,000 a day, $1,000 a day, and they go absolutely nuts on the spending. It's all relative, dog. Kung Fu says, it's a great question. I used to ask a similar question to people. If they were looking to buy something for $10,000, I asked them if they wanted that or prefer to spend $10,000 on something else. John says, row 38, middle seat here. If I need to go middle seat, Nah, I'm not going. I'm not going. I've done it many times, by the way. It's not like I've not sat in the middle seat. But if it's like an exit row, okay, I'm good. I'll be managing. If it's like less than like 7 hours. If it's a night flight, I'm not sitting in that middle seat with no extra leg room. I'm not doing that. I prefer to just not go. Doesn't matter. All right? It doesn't matter where I need to go. I prefer to not go. But I've also done it where I'm in the freaking middle, in a freaking Indian airline, right? Middle of the night, I had to do a freaking stopover, get freaking searched 44 times by freaking Indian police. Oh. And so, I mean, it's not like I've not tried. Man, if you ever fly to freaking India, dog, I don't know what they've done over there, but their security systems are ass. Oh, and they were... It's also so funny. The people I was going with, I met on the plane. We're all going to the same thing. And we were joking the whole night because we left Dubai in like the nighttime. And we had to do a stopover. And so there was like it was in the middle of the night, basically. It was a night flight. So then for the stopover, by the way, in India, I don't know what they do, but they make it the most horrifying experience possible by not giving you any information, by being completely silent and vague. So if you're asking a question, nobody knows it. Or maybe they know, but they'll just not answer you. They just look at you like, just look at you pale. That was really interesting. You have to stand in all these freaking lines, is what I remember, what I recall, right? All these lines for no reason. You have to split up a few times, get back together, stand in another line to go form another line. Then I remember, I'm not sure if I told you before. Then there was like 2 different flights. We had to stand freaking, as if you're gonna freaking PvP them. You had to stand in like a little one line here, and then the opposite. We're like, you know, you're standing in front of another person, just like looking at them as if you're gonna almost have to jump them or something. It's like, what is this for? Then you have to stand there for a few minutes. Nobody's telling you why. You just have to go stand like that. Then another pad down. And the funniest thing is, when you do your stuff through the customs, you gotta roll it yourself. But it's like the way they do it, it's like so awkward to roll it because everybody's and then I promised myself, you know what? Unless there's something really, really cool to do in India, I ain't gonna be going to India no more. You know, I didn't like their systems out there too much. You know, to each their own, right? If you're Indian watching this right now, just know your airports are garbage. But you might have a cool country and all that stuff. That's very much possible. I mean, there's a lot of people there. So. But I ain't going to. They work for tips. Brother, this military motherfuckers. You think this is like normal? No, there's a freaking... These are serious military guys. I'm not going to tip one of them. Look at the guy with, for example, right? A guy with a freaking rifle. You're just like, hey, buddy. And you just put like $1 in his freaking shirt like that. You know, you open his freaking... I'd love to see you do that. Matter of fact, I'd tip to see that. That would be really, really fun. Hey, brother, come here. And you give him a little $1. Matter of fact, you give him 50 cents. You give him a little coin. It's like, have fun tonight. And you keep walking. You're like, it should be good enough for him. They don't work off of tips. All right. Matter of fact, they don't work much at all in terms of how much they say. But I have to say, I had some good banter as well, because this girl, there was one girl. She kept joking. I had some substances with me, you know, some of the ones you smoke. She kept joking, screaming aloud, and a lot of us are having fun on the plane because if you've never flown an Indian airline, you wouldn't know this. But it's about 98% Indian, right? Logically, and like 2% normal people. What is normal people? I don't mean normal. I mean non-Indians, right? About 2%. So we're all in the front. By the way, there was a lot. Oh man, I'm gonna just tell you the full story. I had to stand in line, but I'm not sure if you've ever been to an airport in Dubai or in Pakistan or India. You know that people come with 44 different suitcases. They don't come with 1 or 2. They come with with the cart, and it's stacked like bam, 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 bam. And there's 300 of those people in line because they come 12 hours early. Okay, one of my neighbors used to be, is still in India, but it used to be my neighbor, Indian. They have to fly 2 p.m. They arrive 5 o'clock in the morning just to be on time, make sure they can check everything out. I asked them why. Have to be on time, have to be early, 9 hours or 7 hours, or some stupid like that. I was like, why? But so many people have that in their mind that you have to be there at least like half a day early. So I'm standing in that line. I'm not sure why I'm going out of pocket to tell you all this, but I'm in it now. I'm in my story now. I seen that line. I have my just one suitcase. I'm standing there for a little second. And after about 1.5 minutes, I realized, okay, my flight is in like 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. this is never going to move more than 3 steps forward because the pace is just, I'm going to stand it for at least, I think, 7 hours, which is why you have to come 7 hours before probably, right? So, matter of fact, he still might not make it after 7 hours. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to the business thing. There is no business with this airline, by the way, because it was the last airline that went. That's why I had to take it. And that's why the night flight and all that stuff. It's the last thing. There's no options. All right, it's last minute, last option, which I've learned my lesson. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just go to the front. And nobody's looking at you weird because everybody's Pakistani or Indian, so they're not really looking at you weird if you go walk to a different section. They're just all standing there. And I'm just like, all right, let me go to the front of the front. Let me just go to the business section. They're like, oh, yeah, just go in front of the line. Just go in front of everybody. I'm like, oh, all right. So I go. So that was really a funny experience. And then I realized it's fully packed. Except for us. Except for the section, basically, where us, the 6 non-Indians, basically were. We all have like a little free rows, basically, at the front. There was a little bit of people, but it's mostly because we're choosing to sit together. But you could have basically sat free. Whereas everything else, the thing is fully packed except for the front of the front. And we're all the ones in the front. That was kind of funny. Yeah, and I told you before, right? And then after a while, he made some friends in the plane. And they were joking like, he's got this and that and this and that. In freaking India with only military personnel. I was like, why would you joke about that now? In the freaking customs. Don't joke about having freaking, having that stuff on the plane. Or just outside the plane. Don't do that. And they did. But that was all funny. The guy was laughing, the military guy. Him, I could have tipped, I guess. So what was the moral of the story? Yeah, if you don't have to, never fly to India. Because that was a pretty interesting experience. And I would never do it again. By the way, for anybody from India or Bangladesh or Pakistan or one of those same countries watching this, or anybody flown to India before? I don't think we have any. I don't think we have anybody from India today. By the way, good food. My neighbor used to be a freaking G. Matter of fact, my Indian lady, my neighbor, sweetest woman in the freaking world, man. So sweet, so nice, super nice. But the airport, very garbage. Thomas says, God bless everyone. Just trying to get some information on 𝗂𝗧𝗧. And he's hearing me ranting on about freaking India. I'm sorry about that, brother. I'm so... Oh, this guy's back again. Charles, what are you doing to me, brother? Charles again. Oliver says, what's your thoughts on XP price action from here? Oliver, you might look at me crazy for saying this, but the only thing I see for XRP is upwards. Like, it's only up 5% from the local bottom. But it should make you realize, again, if you, for example, stayed consistent with 305 and getting in hard at 305, yes, you may have been, your drawdown might have been a bit annoying at times, but ultimately, it's only one option, right? I've just told you the whole story about the watch and stuff that I'm like, ooh. The moral of that story was also, if you just keep it up throughout time, it is almost always, and I'm not making a guarantee, this is not financial advice, but thus far it would have always worked out to just keep on buying. And that's why if you're asking me price action, I just always expect up in bull markets. Dips are there for longing. Dips are there for getting yourself a better entry and going crazier. You may be wrong on the short term, but I think it's quite hard to be wrong over the longer term or medium term even. Daniel says, my ETH is up 80%. Should I go for XRP? Why would you do that? Just because ETH is going to have some troubles at 4K, potentially, doesn't mean it's still quite undervalued. I mean, XRP hit a new all-time high before. ETH didn't do that yet. So people right now are actually buying ETH heavily, changing from other coins to it, because they're expecting the big runner-up that's going to lead all the other coins is going to be ETH. So from a risk-reward perspective, no coin is necessarily better than another right now. Crack says, give me your opinion on AVAX. I think AVAX is ass. It's like Ethereum's little, like little stupid brother. It doesn't mean that AVAX can't do well, but it just means there's no hype at all. There's no excitement for AVAX at all. So if you're going for it, you're basically expecting it to all of a sudden go for a resurgence rally, right? Pick itself up from the dirt. But right now, it is just, I'm going to plainly tell it to you, pretty garbage. And I wish I sold my AVAX earlier. If hype in gaming comes back, AVAX could also get a good resurgence, but right now it's my... Sledgy says, I'm Haitian, and my older relatives have the same 5 hours before flight policy. How many hours before a flight do y'all arrive? I wonder. You don't have to answer this, right? You don't have to grab your phone if you're in the car, driving to your freaking work, and you're like, damn, please. No, it's not important. I'm just really curious now. So your older relatives go 5 hours before? It's policy. I don't know. I feel like you should always try to crack your limits on the shortest amount of time possible before the flight. Matter of fact, when I went to I think Spain, it was a while back, my friend showed up after the I think like 15 minutes before the flight was supposed to leave. I said, "Oh, I like to go pretty late, like maybe 1 hour before on a not domestic, but like European flight, so you don't have to go through passport control. Like maybe let's say 1 hour or something like that. Maybe it was like 1 hour and 15, no check-in, maybe 1 hour, or it turned out to be a little bit later than that." And I was like, "Oh, I'll come a bit late, bro. Don't worry about me." He's like, "Yeah, I'll be there in a few minutes." Turns out he was not there in a few minutes. Matter of fact, he arrived at the airport when the flight was supposed to leave, like 10 minutes before that. Turns out we had 15 or 20 minute delay, so he was still on time. But the audacity to show up that late. He's like, "Oh, no problem. I was like, what the fuck? Some people are different. You guys are mostly saying 2 hours, just normal people. All right, that's good. 3 hours max. Mexico. Every single time I go in Mexico, I try it also to get to the brim. I go at the end of ends. I will never go more than 2 hours. Unless it's like a place where the airport is so far away that you're a bit like, if you're going to have to drive now, you might come there 2 hours before, you might come there 3 hours before, you might come there 1 hour before. If you like that, it can happen. But I always aim for about 1.5 hours. Because theoretically speaking, if I'm there 1 hour and 1 minute before, right, in the line, I should be good to go because the check-in closes 1 hour before. And I've had it before in America that I was way too freaking late. Not my fault. It was the stopover. And you just have to say, "Oh, sorry," but you can always get past everybody. It's okay. Who's going to stop somebody that says, sorry, I need to pass. I'm sorry. In America, they look at you like, what? Because I remember also, I was there in the line, like, and the flight was going in maybe 15 minutes. And maybe 20 minutes or something like that. It's flying. And they're like, you have time. I'm like, what do you mean I have time? It leaves in 20 minutes. Finding out that it closes like only 10 minutes beforehand. So I did indeed have time. But in Emirates or something like that, it closes what? Like 40 minutes before or something like that, it already closes. It's like a stupid amount of time. Most of the time, no, but you get it, like on paper. Are we bullish on 𝗏, Crypto.com's coin? Yeah, I mean, I have some. I bought it for their card years ago, but I think it's still down like 99% from the moment that I bought it at, I feel like. So the thing is, it's just, are you bullish on Crypto.com as an exchange? If you're talking about a chain or all this type of stuff, I don't know. But there's a little funny post going on right now. You know the guy who sold his 80,000 Bitcoin? It's now a news announcement, right? Galaxy completes the sales of the Satoshi era whale with 80,000 Bitcoin. And then ICO Beast had a funny comment. He said, this freaking moron, you could have had 16 billion if you waited 2 months. And the funny thing there is, we all make jokes about this guy selling. Because, oh, he could have. But he turned his freaking 40K into 10 billion. It could have been more, sure, but, still 10 billion. He's doing better than all of us, so. No, to get back to Kronos, I don't know. I feel like if you're bullish on the exchange, then it makes sense. But I don't ever use Crypto.com. Their biggest promotions were like a long time ago. And I don't know what's next for them. Like, I really do wonder. They do some cool things. Again, I should say. Some cool things they do. But in general, it's not my biggest of coins. I'm not necessarily that excited about them. Fun thing about 𝗏 is if you have a lot of coins, you can use them to make more 𝗏, like staking. Yeah, you can. Grass is late to the party. What's up, guys? Yeah, I just realized there's not that much to talk about right now. I really felt as if this is, again, a moment where the market could have a pretty big uptick. And the moment we started streaming, indeed, the market was doing a pretty good upper. You can see, right, from about my time, like even 12 p.m. it just was constantly up. And right now, since we started streaming, it was up a little bit, sure, but it's stalled again. Basically, every single time I look now, it looks to be the exact same price. We've been going sideways for a little bit here. I just refreshed to see if it was stuck or not, because it was looking so sideways. It could really be that it was actually stuck, matter of fact. But nothing changed. Yeah, so we've just been observing, but nothing too much going on is the problem. Matter of fact, y'all, I ain't gonna waste nobody time. All right, one thing I'll probably do later today is talk about the bots a bit more, my exact strategy, and I'm gonna have to add a significant more money to it. I'm just gonna have to do it. Also, you guys want 𝗕𝗪𝗀𝗃, and I'll have to talk about that a bit more. And I need to go watch South Park. Damn, I have a lot of things to do. But I just always base it off of the sentiments in the chat. Like right now, I'm noticing, what can I talk about? You're seeing some coins, but I've covered all that before. I've covered 𝗔𝗂 in depth like a day and a half ago. If you look back at my price prediction video or price expectation video, you can see all my thoughts, where I think it's going to go this season, why I think that. I've covered it. So I'll do a bot video today. And if you guys want something else, just comment it down below. I read every single comment. I always appreciate it. And if you guys want a specific coin, 𝗕𝗪, there's no hype for 𝗕𝗪 right now. So there's not really much covering, you know. But I do hold a lot of 𝗕𝗪, by the way. I'm not against it, by the way. Do I have a 𝗕𝗪 bot? I don't think so. But that I could have also set up. It's not a bad coin, I think. Anyway, I'll see you guys later in another one. If there's some news popping, I'll catch you guys, all right? But a couple of cool videos coming out. I might also do VeChain. I'll see. But especially the bots, get it out later to y'all. If you want to also trade, you know where to find the links, right? Links all down below. Those are the platforms I'm trading on. I'll see you guys again in another one.